Welcome to the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. Today from the land of 10,000 lakes, it's the first game of the Minneapolis Regional. From the West Coast Conference, it's the Gonzaga Bulldogs taking on the Bruins of UCLA, a perennial national tournament team. And here's how it shakes out in Minnesota, where the weather today is going to be absolutely terrific. The Golden Gophers, winners of the Big Ten regular season and tournament. They're the number 14 national seed, hosting for the first time since 2000. They're going to play Canisius tonight. But first, we have the Zags and the Bruins. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to Minneapolis. We're on our first stop on the road to Omaha. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're glad you're here for it. Alongside former Iowa Hawkeye great Danon Hughes, I'm Clay Matvick. And Danon, UCLA is making its 22nd national tournament appearance, a perennial power. What makes them especially dangerous this year?
Well, a little unique twist this year. You consider the Bruins, as you said, over the course of that time have been dominant pitching and defense, but got a little curveball, a little changeup this year, with the offense really coming along strong. They've been able to produce runs, making them one of the more complete teams in NCAA baseball. You
can see it, 7 runs per game. That was second in the Pac-12 this year. 114 doubles. A lot of home runs, especially from the 3 and 4 holes in this lineup. Michael Toglia, the sophomore first baseman, having a big year.
A big year indeed. He is considered a top draft pick next year, fortunately for the Bruins. This year, he has been contributing to 25 home runs on the season, and he and his buddy 105 RBIs. So the offense and the catalyst, it all starts with Toglia and Strumpf.
UCLA and Gonzaga can pitch too, and that's what we're going to talk about next. The bird and the bees. We'll explain when we come back. Temperatures in the mid-70s as we get ready for the first pitch between Gonzaga and UCLA. First game of the NCAA Baseball Regional from Minneapolis, presented by Capital One. A look at Jake Bird, the senior sinker bowl pitcher. He should like this turf here in Minneapolis, which tends to eat up ground balls. Terrific numbers, 7-4 with a 1.99 ERA.
Has had a phenomenal season, and you see his numbers. Not going to be overpowering, but you hit it on the head, Clay. He's going to be a guy that's going to induce ground balls. This field should work well, and with his stellar defense, they're expecting him to go deep into this game.
Here's a look at the Gonzaga lineup. Winners of 12 of their last 15. The batting lineup has Jake Veith kind of anchoring it down in the 6 hole. 307 average, 10 home runs on the year. Yeah, he's down in the order, but he generates a lot of power from that spot.
He does. We got the chance to watch him in batting practice today and yesterday, and he hit the batter's eye high up, and even a couple that would have gone over there. So the big fly is definitely in effect when Veith is in the batter's box.
So we're ready to go here at Siebert Field at Minneapolis. Minnesota and Canisius will play in game 2. And the first pitch is outside from Jake Bird. Isaac Barrera, he's the designated hitter for Gonzaga today. He DH'd during the league tournament as well. There's strike one. He pulled a hamstring a couple of weeks ago. And until further notice from head coach Mark Maktoff, we expect to see Barrera in the DH role.
And he is the table setter for the Zags. They've done a nice job. Pretty consistent as of late in the batter's box. As you see Bird, he does have that fastball, get up to 93 miles an hour, has some sink to it. He's not a big strikeout guy, but he pitches with that edge on the mound, which is always helpful for him.
One and two to the leadoff man. Swung on, short left field. Jeremy Idens was playing fairly shallow, and he makes the catch for the first down. Mark Maktoff is in his 15th year as head coach at Gonzaga. His 28th year on staff in Spokane. Third trip to the NCAA tournament, and second in the last 3 years.
Such a great baseball mind, a a quality person to talk to. We could sit down. One of those coaches you could sit down and talk about baseball for hours on end.
And he's got some great stories. Of course, won a national championship with Stanford as a player back in 1987. He's watching his third baseman at the plate now, Ernie Yake. A lot of lefties in this lineup for Gonzaga. He sprays it down the line, and that is foul. Just barely. Daniel Jimenez, the third base umpire, right on top of it to make the call. And Ernie Yake just missed an extra base hit.
Well, Yake has been a great find for this Zags program, and you consider we had a chance to talk with him about, just bursting on the scene and being a freshman here, and they have such high praise for this young man. He's done a nice job in the batter's box, defensive. He is stellar, and almost had an extra base hit there.
Bird ahead, 2 strikes, the pitch. Now to the other side of the field where the first baseman, Michael Tolia, will take it easily for out number 2. So Yake is retired. As you take a look at UCLA head coach John Savage. He is in 14 years on the job at UCLA, including his time at UC Irvine. Savage has been to 11 national tournaments, 4 super regionals, 3 College World Series appearances, and of course won the national championship in 2013 with the Bruins. 1 strike to Gunnar Schubert.
Well, it's been great for Coach Savage this year, as you see what he's been able to accomplish. 3 CWS appearances in 2010, 12, and 13. But this year, relatively young team. A lot of underclassmen out there, and he's gotten the best out of them.
Schubert, the senior shortstop, who's probably been Gonzaga's most consistent hitter. .298 on the year with 3 homers and 37 runs batted in.
He's considered one of the leaders of this team and one of the guys they hope to get going, this offense going.
Hits a ground ball to short. That's where Kevin Kendall will gobble it up. And it's a very good inning for Jake Bird. Needs 11 pitches to get out of the top of the first. UCLA coming up for the first time next. Here we go to the bottom of the first. We've had the Bird, Dana. Now we're going to see the Bees.
Yes, he got a 6'8" Bees out there. Has done a nice job this season. Good command, not a lot of mileage on his arm. Has a bright future, but he's going to bring about 90 to 93 with his fastball. He has to be smart in the zone against this Bruins offense, and his changeup has to stay low and do some ground balls, just like Bird on the other side is trying to do as well.
Again, yeah, keep that ball down because this turf tends to eat up ground balls. As Jeremy Idens gets ready to stand in for UCLA, you take a look at the lineup. Strumpf and Tolia, couple of juggernauts at 3 and 4 in the order. The first Bruin tandem with 10 or more homers in the same season since 2007.
Amazing production in the middle of the lineup for the Bruins. We talked about it earlier, 105 RBIs between those 2 guys. They can't get those RBIs without the top of the lineup doing their thing in the batter's box. So Idens right here is a speedy player. He's really done a nice job with his opportunities this year. But getting that speed on the base path is key for the Bruins.
Idens, the sophomore left fielder, all Pac-12, and he has been red hot. He's going to lift this to right field. Nick Brooks patrolling out there. He'll come over toward the line and make the catch for out number 1. So it's interesting. A couple of ground ball pitchers get fly ball outs. And the first hitter they face here today. And that brings up Kevin Kendall.
When you consider the dimensions here at Siebert Field, lend itself to balls being able to fly out of the park. So I would not be surprised if we see a few big flies today.
Look at Siebert Field, newly renovated here in 2013. Kevin Kendall, freshman, left-handed hitting shortstop. Came the starting shortstop in late March and hasn't looked back. Bees gets him to foul that one off. Ball and a strike. Daniel Bees has had a breakout junior year. He's been the Friday night starter all season long. And he paints the outside corner. It's 1-2.
And that's what you get from Bees. He's very good with command. He's a strike thrower, not going to walk a lot of guys. He's going to attack this Bruins offense. They have to be ready in the batter's box. And sometimes you can lean towards, if you're a guy like Bees, to being more like a pitching machine where guys can free swing on you because you have so much command of the strike zone. So he's going to have to get a little crafty in there as well. Has a good mix of pitches. Just a slider and a changeup. He likes to use against the lefties.
He's averaging 10 strikeouts per 9. His 115 strikeouts ranks 23rd in the nation coming into the national tournament. He has won 3 of his last 4 starts. He had Tommy John surgery his junior year in high school. It set him back for a couple of years. Got cut his first year at Gonzaga. But has shown great perseverance over the last few years to get to this spot. And the count rides along at 1-2 as Bees and Kendall continue their battle.
Well, you can see he has a quiet body about him. He goes from the stretch primarily, and everything just seems to be very fluid, very effortless, and that's what I think it makes for the huge upside for him at the next level, because you kind of feel like there's so much more in the tank.
Under foul ball. As the train rolls by beyond the wall in left field here at Siebert Field. We're right on the University of Minnesota campus. Here comes the 8th pitch of the at-bat. Well, no matter how this turns out for Kendall, Danon, this has been a productive at-bat considering he's the second hitter of the game.
Absolutely. You are forcing Bees to go into his complete arsenal of pitches. He threw the slider right there. He's trying to work the changeup as well. What was not effective to Idens will now be effective for the rest of the lineup.
And Bees got him to chase on the inside corner. Pinarini has to do the dirty work. But it's the first strikeout for Kendall. Now bring up Chase Strumpf. Strumpf, the sophomore second baseman who has had a terrific year. All Pac-12. Only the 4th Bruin in the last 17 years with 10 homers and 50 runs batted in the same season.
Well, we talked earlier about the Bruins being a more complete team. This is one of their complete players. A rock on offense and defense. He's only committed 2 errors. And then in the batter's box, he's going to be a little bit of a free swinger. But he's the most consistent batter in this lineup for the Bruins.
Case in point, he's going to drop this one into the right field corner. It's going to skip the wall for a ground rule double. And Strumpf has the first Bruins runner in scoring position this weekend. A 2-out double here in the first.
This is a nice job of hitting by Strumpf. A fastball on the outside part of the plate. He just drives it right where it's pitched. Doesn't try to do too much with it, and because of this surface, that ball bounces over the fence for the ground rule double.
19th double this year for Strumpf, and UCLA has 115 of those on the year. That was second best in the Pac-12 this year. And now here comes the aforementioned Tolia. Switch hitting, power hitting, mountain of a player. 6'5", 209 pounds. And the Bruin first baseman is behind in the count, 1 strike.
Well, you know how much respect Bees has for him and understanding the game plan. Starts him off with an off speed at 68 miles an hour. Doesn't want to tee up a fastball for the dangerous hitter.
The 0-1. Strike two. One thing we know about Daniel Bees is he's not going to be intimidated.
No. And that's a good approach. You go with 68 miles an hour changeup, and then you come back with a fastball. Makes the fastball look like it's in the mid-90s. You get quickly ahead in the count.
Totally a top 10 in the Pac-12 in doubles, walks, homers, ribbies, runs. He has had a terrific sophomore campaign. He was a freshman All-American last year. He was also an outfielder last year, but he has found a comfortable home at first. This is going to skip away from home plate after hitting Michael Tolley. Looked like it got him in the foot. So now first and second for Jack Stronach.
Well, just off target just a bit by Bees. You can see off speed down and in with 2 strikes, and looks like it clips his back foot. And he takes his free pass.
So a glorious opportunity here for UCLA. After Bees retired the first 2 fairly easily. Stronach, the designated hitter for UCLA.
Keep working for us, Ted. We're good.
He started 33 of the last 36, either as the DH or at first. Chopped to Veith at first. Backhands it, steps on the bag, and Bees gets out of the inning. UCLA gets 2 aboard, but they can't get anybody home. We have played 1 in Minnesota, no score. Look at downtown Minneapolis. We're about a mile or so from downtown here at the U of M. Golden Gophers hosting this regional. You see the Metro train, and now you see the BNSF train rolling by here outside of Siebert Field. Makes you want to put a knapsack over your shoulder and hop a ride. Jake Bird going back to work for the Bruins on the mound. He's going to face Truby, Pinarini, and Veith. 4, 5, and 6 for the Zags. Gonzaga went 1, 2, 3 in the first. Branson Truby, a senior center fielder. Another one of the veteran leaders for this bunch. He's one of Gonzaga's bigger power threats with 8 homers and 36 runs batted in.
Yes, he's been a staple in the middle of the lineup for the Zags all season, a senior on this team, and as you noted, a leader as well. One of the 2 leaders on this team that everyone looks to, especially the youth on this team. They look to for direction, and he's really done a fine job within this program.
Right away in March, you could tell that this Gonzaga team had NCAA tournament potential. They won 3 of 4 at Rice, took 2 of 3 from Pepperdine, who's always good. That hit him in the back. Branson Truby will be the first base runner of the day for Gonzaga.
Well, no chance for Truby to get out of the way of this fastball. Just gets away from Bird, and he takes his free pass. And when you watch Bird, kind of gives you the look of a Kevin Apier. Brings his whole body, kind of comes from down south with that pitch and his delivery. The ball just gets away from him. Not what you want if you're a Bruins fan.
So now each starter has hit a batter today. Man on for Pinarini, the Gonzaga catcher. Another lefty. Swings at the first pitch that's chopped off his front foot, foul. Pinarini, a JUCO transfer. He has caught all but a handful of the Zags games this year. Named to the all-tournament team last week in Stockton. Went 7 for 13 as Gonzaga really came out of its shell with an offensive display. They outscored their opponents in 3 games, 34-5.
Getting the bats hot at the right time, and Pinarini has been that guy behind the plate, a staple behind the plate, throwing out 43% of the runners. But offensively, he does have some pop, has 4 home runs on the season.
Jake Bird from the stretch for the first time today. Misses outside. 1-2. So Gonzaga went 16-11 in the West Coast Conference. Always tough, that league. And the Bulldogs finished second, 1 game behind Pepperdine. The reason Pepperdine didn't get an at-large is they had a 101 RPI. And you saw how Gonzaga just rolled through the conference tournament, taking out Pepperdine twice. Now it's 2-2. Here's Coach Mack.
And Coach Mack's been around baseball for a long period of time, and you can see the offensive output. And if you say if there's any aspect of the game of baseball that you want to be hot at the latter part of the season, it is the bats. And that's what's really come along for the Zags. They started off a little bit slow offensively this season. And you consider even going back to their early part of their conference play, they were 7-5, just batting .216 during that time. And then the elevation of the offense occurred, and that's when things really started to go well and bode well for them as they cruise through their tournament.
First 3-ball count for Bird. 3-2 to Pinarini, but he'll check over at first, and Truby dives back.
Truby does have some speed over there. 6 stolen base attempts. I should say he was successful 6 out of 10 times. Tied for the lead on this team. They don't run very much.
Runner goes, swung on and lifted out of play. So hit and run on with nobody out here in the second inning.
And that's the attitude you have to have at this juncture of the season. You're trying to accomplish your goals and move on. Have to be aggressive, put your foot on the gas pedal. So Truby does have that speed, and if you want to put some pressure on the defense to make plays, that's one way of doing it. Implementing the run game. In that situation, a run and hit, allowing Pinarini to still swing the bat.
Walked him. Truby hit by a pitch. Now Pinarini given a free pass. 2 on, nobody out for Veith. Well, the ESPN Network's bringing you every game on the road to Omaha, starting with the regional coverage this weekend on ESPN2, ESPNU, the SEC Network, and ESPN3. Matt Schick and the Professor Mike Rooney will anchor our whip-around coverage. We're glad to have that back. So a real tough spot now for the senior Jake Bird, as he has to face Jake Veith for the first time today. 10 homers for Veith on the year. And Veith was jumping on that first pitch, but he fouled it off. The senior first baseman from Tacoma, rock solid at 5'11", 225 pounds.
The lumberjack with the lumberjack look, and we got a chance to see his power on display in batting practice. Towering shots off the batter's eye out in center field, and maybe normally in this situation this early in the game you might have a guy bunt, but not Veith. He has the power to put the ball out of the park.
And this is down and in. 1-1 to Jake Veith, who had 2 big home runs in the West Coast Conference title game against Pepperdine. He was the MVP of that tournament in Stockton. He has a chance to give the Zags the early lead. 2 on, nobody out here in the top of the second. Jake Bird's pitch, swung on and missed.
It's a nice job, took a little bit off of that fastball with an arm side run. Got a 2-seam fastball that works away from Veith. Good location for the second strike.
Truby at second, Pinarini at first. The 1-2 skips in the dirt. Rosica is able to gather it up. Base runners stay put. And now 2-2.
And that's exactly why Rosie is back there. They affectionately call him Rosie. Rosica's done a nice job defensively behind the plate, and he's a brick wall back there and one of the leaders on this team. And Veith, in this situation, you can tell that Bird is trying to be very careful against Veith, and justifiably so.
Wind blowing a little bit out to right field, at least toward the corner. Another changeup, full Veith, and he's out on strikes for out number 1. That is a big out for Jake Bird, his first strikeout of the afternoon.
Huge, huge out for the Bruins, and Jake Bird doesn't seem to have the best command of that off speed, trying to keep it down, and gets Veith going fishing. His curveball drops right off the plate. I think Veith had eyes of hitting that ball into the softball field out there in right center field. But a big pitch for Bird.
Another guy that doesn't get cheated at the plate is this guy, Nick Brooks, senior right fielder for Gonzaga. 6'2", 220 pounds. He takes a whack at the first pitch, sends it down the line and right, but well foul.
Well, we talked about Veith and his power. Brooks has the best true power on the team. Most considered, he has 8 home runs in just the last 30 games. But the big asset for him, an attribute I should say, is that he has the power to all fields. And definitely, as you said, not going to get cheated in the batter's box. And you need to have a well-balanced attack like that. You need to have guys that you know can change the landscape of the game with one swing, and then pepper other guys around him.
Bird's pitch hit high and deep to right field. This has a chance on the warning track. Reaching up, Mitchell can't get it. Bounces off the wall into foul territory. Truby comes in to score, and that's all the Zags will get. Brooks nearly rode it out of here for a 3-run homer. They'll settle for 1, but Gonzaga's out in front.
Well, an excellent job by Brooks in the batter's box. Again, going with the pitch, outside part of the plate, enough power to get it to the wall. And it looked like Mitchell shaded him more towards right center field, had a lot of real estate to cover, not familiar with where the fence is and the dimensions, and it goes off his glove for the RBI double.
th run batted in for Brooks this year, and Gonzaga has the lead here in the second inning. And here comes Jack Mactoff. Mactoff making only his 7th start of the season, but the coach's son has been a regular in the lineup the last couple of weeks, and he's been playing well. And Bird starts him out of the zone.
Well, another left-handed bat in the lineup against the right-handed pitcher. As you mentioned, just a freshman, coach's son. And he's really done a nice job. Led the team in quality at-bats in the Western Conference tournament.
Outside to Mactoff. Mactoff, his first career hit was a home run. That was earlier this month against Santa Clara. He has a chance to add to the Zags' lead with a base hit. Up and out, 3-0, and Jake Bird, the senior right-hander, is struggling. The only senior on this UCLA roster.
And it seems that he's pressing just a bit. You've seen multiple occasions where he's walked behind the mound, trying to gather himself and get into a rhythm.
Pitch count already at 32. There's a strike. 3-1.
Even though this field is artificial surface, the field turf, the mound and home plate are dirt. So the feel for Bird on the mound should be no different than a regular field.
Swung on and missed, and Bird battles back to fill out the count. The senior has been on a mission this season. He wasn't drafted last year after some shoulder trouble flared up during his junior year. So getting him back this season has been great for UCLA, and he's been a key to their success. And this year he's stayed healthy. This one is hit on the screws to center. Amaral will scamper over, make the catch. Tagging from third is Pinarini. The throw, not in time. And it's 2-0 Zags. Boy, Pinarini nonchalantly came in to score. I don't think he thought the play was going to be that close.
Well, he got into cruise control a little bit quickly, and he got a strong throw from Amaral in center field. And see how the ball skips off the mound and gets to Rosica a little bit quicker than I think Pinarini and the Zags expected. Didn't think initially that ball was hit deep enough. Now, you consider the wind is blowing out just a bit. The arms in the outfield aren't the strongest for the Bruins. Didn't think that was going to be deep enough to score Pinarini at third base.
And the ninth man in the order, Carson Brashears, comes up for Gonzaga. The sixth left-handed hitter in this lineup. Transfer from Oregon. Takes a strike in the inside corner.
That's the first fastball that we've seen from Bird go attack on the inside part of the plate against the left-handed bats. He's been nibbling on the outside part of the plate with his fastball, trying to move his off-speed in and down against lefties. And that's going to be a key for him to get back on track, is to challenge on the inside part of the plate.
The 1-1 back up the middle. Bird is able to snag it and get out of the inning. But it's a 27-pitch second inning, and Gonzaga gets 2 runs in the inning. The big blow, a Nick Brooks double to get the scoring started. 2-0 Zags here in Minnesota. The 6'8" Daniel Bees climbs back on the mound for the Zags, and now he's got a 2-run lead to work with as we go to the bottom of the second here in Minneapolis. UCLA will send Amaral, Mitchell, and Kreidler 6, 7, and 8 to hit against Bees, who gave up a double and hit a batter in the first inning, but was able to work around that trouble. Amaral, the speedy junior center fielder, takes strike 1.
And Amaral had been at the leadoff spot earlier this season. They flip-flopped him and moved him down into the 6th spot, which has really helped this offense. But in this situation, you know, once you go through the lineup or you start off another inning, you are the leadoff guy. So very comfortable in this role, trying to get things going for the Bruins. You mentioned Bees being out there with a 2-run lead. The challenge is that he's always around the zone anyway, so he doesn't know how to pitch around guys. He's still going to be in attack mode.
The 0-2. That's fisted foul by Amaral.
There's case in point right there. 0-2 count. He goes right in the zone. Not using a waste pitch to set up Amaral. Just continuing to go downhill in the zone.
Now 1-2. And this is a UCLA team that has terrific countenance. I mean, they're not going to get down on themselves. They have scored 5 or more runs 20 times this season. They know how to come back. They know how to pile up the offenses we've alluded to. This is a bounding ball to third. Ernie Yate comes in, throws out Amaral for out number 1. I'll bring up right fielder Garrett Mitchell. Some of the experts predict that Bees, by the way, could go in the top 8 rounds next week as the draft starts on June 4th. Sprayed foul by Mitchell.
And you can see what he has in the tank. I talked about it earlier. He has such a quiet delivery. effortless, really smooth. And there you see Mitchell, just a freshman, but they consider him one of the best athletes, if not the best athlete on the team. Has high potential as a 5-tool guy.
Bees wanted to know where that one was. Jeff Head, the home plate umpire for game one here in Minnesota.
It's just a fastball on the outside part of the plate. Looks like it moved off the plate. Has that arm side run. May have started in the zone, but crossed the plate on the outside.
That time it's inside and down. 2-1. Mitchell turned down some pretty good money to come to UCLA. Oakland A's took him in the 14th round out of high school. Another one lashed foul.
Well, he has the potential. Wasn't able to track down that double last inning by the Zags. Had a lot of real estate to cover. The defense has been shifting on each batter. Caught himself out more towards right center field.
This is the 7th hitter to face Daniel Bees, and they've worked that pitch count up to 30 already. A lot of foul balls.
Yeah.
They're seeing a lot of pitches from Bees. I would have to think that's going to pay dividends second time around.
Absolutely, and you consider the attack mindset here has been fastball away, curveball and change on the inside part of the plate, and that's why you're seeing so many balls get fouled off opposite field. Because he's pitching them away. I think they, just like we talked with Bird, challenge on the inside part of the plate, especially with that fastball. And that's what you'll see. Maybe pitching backwards just a bit, starting off speed later to get through this lineup, but an abundance of pitches so far for Bees.
The 2-2 to Mitchell. Just missed, full count. Austin Pinarini, the backstop, tried to frame that up, but Jeff Head says it's ball 3.
That's a good eye by Mitchell. That's not a strike. Good discipline in the batter's box.
First 3-ball count for Daniel Bees. The payoff. Missed it. It's the first walk allowed by the tall right-hander. So a man on for UCLA with 1 out. For more coverage of the Division I baseball regionals, where you can find an interactive bracket, you can go to NCAA.com. 64 teams beginning the quest today, the road to Omaha. And we're in Minneapolis alongside Danon Hughes, former great at Iowa, 2 sports star there. I'm Clay Matvick. Glad to have you along on this afternoon. Canisius, the 4 seed in this regional, and the 1 seed Minnesota coming up later tonight at 8 Eastern. Ryan Kreidler at the plate now for UCLA. Kreidler is starting to come out of what you might call a sophomore slump, hitting .375 over the last 5 games. But on balance, it's been a tough second year hitting-wise at UCLA for Kreidler.
Well, he started off extremely slow, and the numbers don't indicate his potential.
Runner goes, swung on, hit. Veet steps on the bag. He'll go to second, where they're going to have to apply the tag, but it's late. They get the second out. Mitchell gets into scoring position, and Rosica will come up next.
Well, this is how you draw up a hit-and-run situation. The right-handed batter trying to hit behind the runner just hits it directly at Veet at first base, and that's good base running there by Mitchell to stay on the base, not get deked by the defense. Really nothing Kreidler can do.
And now Daniel Rosica, the light hitting catcher in the 9 spot. And breaking pitch a little up in the zone. Rosica is UCLA's Male Scholar Athlete of the Year. A terrific young man. Very good defensive catcher. Double major in econ and psychology. John Savage just raves about his catcher.
I'm getting a headache just hearing about that stuff. But these guys that you consider, Bird and Rosie behind the plate, They consider themselves the two smartest guys on the team and actually go back and forth.
Yeah.
And which one of them is smarter?
Might be the smartest battery in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good problem for Coach Savage.
Ball and a strike to Rosica. Outside. And this is the guy Daniel Bees wants to get because Jeremy Idens in the top of the order is on deck.
Well, you don't want to walk or give up anything to the bottom of the lineup at any time, especially with the catcher in the batter's box. And once you roll back over to the top of that lineup, they've seen Bees before. You got runners in scoring position. This is an essential out for the Zags.
Ground ball to short. Schubert sucks it up. Bad throw, but Veith bails him out at first, applies the tag to get out of the inning. So Daniel Bees works around a walk here in the second inning, and we have played 2 here in Minnesota. Zags leading it 2-0 in a good defensive play by the big first baseman for the Zags. On a perfect day at Minnesota, 2-0 Gonzaga as we head to the third inning. Isaac Barrera, the top of the order for the Zags. Flew out to left field his first time up. He's 0 for 1. Jake Bird gave up a couple of runs last inning. Didn't start well as he hit Truby to lead off the inning, then walked Pinarini. And that never spells good things for a pitcher. And, of course, both of those guys came in to score.
Well, you don't want to open the door cleanly for another team to produce offensively. You want to force them to work. And anytime you have those kind of miscues, a good team like the Zags will make you pay for it.
2-1. Isaac Barrera. He found a regular spot in the lineup about halfway through the season. He's been a staple ever since.
You take away that hamstring issue, he's been a guy that has been in the DH position as well as played some outfield. But to have that speed at the top of the lineup is essential to kickstart things for their offense. And fortunately for the Zags and Barrera, he's been able to shake that hamstring injury off and seems to be almost full speed right now.
2-2. Now full count.
We're seeing some body language from each pitcher, Bird and Bees, in regards to some of the pitches they may think they should be getting on the outside part of the plate. I don't think that one, just like the last inning with Bees, was a strike. But the body language is definitely in effect for both pitchers.
Jake Bird beat Gonzaga in February of 2017. In fact, shut out the Zags for 6 innings. Struck out 7 in that outing as UCLA took 2 of 3 in the series. Line drive, base hit, drops out in front of Idens. And that is the second hit of the afternoon for Gonzaga. The leadoff man is aboard here in the third.
Well, this is the exact same place that Barrera had drove the ball his first at bat of the game. The left fielder, Idens, is playing in closely to the infield and just could not get there. But this is a pitch on the outside part of the plate, and you see, just drive it right where it's pitched, and right there, a little nonchalant approach by Idens. That ball almost skirts past him. Remember, each of these teams not really used to playing on this artificial surface. The ball can spin differently.
And now Ernie Yake at the plate. Ernie Yake grounded out to Tolley at first, his first time up. Only 18 years old, but he has a great baseball frame, about 6 feet tall. There's room to put some weight on him. He's 165 right now. That rides inside, 2-0. And now here comes Rosica out to have a quick chat with Bird.
Well, the conversation here is just to settle him down, maybe change up the rhythm, but also with Barrera at first, they don't know how fast he can be right now with that hamstring injury and recovering from that. He only has 1 stolen base on the season. But with the good contact hitter and Ernie Yake, still have to be aware of maybe a hit and run situation, especially if you're struggling to hit the zone. You mentioned Yake. Putting on weight is going to be essential, but he's been very, very strong at that third base position.
Bird has thrown a lot of pitches here this afternoon already, and just 6 outs to show for it. As Yake stands in, ahead in the count, 3 balls and no strikes. Outside, walked him. 2 on, nobody out for Gonzaga. And Gunnar Schubert walking to the plate.
He had 2 consecutive innings where the first 2 batters get on base against Bird. He just doesn't seem to have found his comfort out there. Now you're going to get a trip to the mound and maybe check on him.
Here comes the boss, John Savage, and the rest of the infield for the Bruins. Well, one of the areas that has been a strong suit for UCLA all year has been the pitching staff. 4th best ERA in the nation, 2.94. And Jake Bird has led the attack with a 1.99 ERA. Already down 2 runs and laboring here in the 3rd. You see the pitching and defense for UCLA has been absolutely terrific.
And the 2 are intertwined. Unless you have overpowering pitching, a lot of strikeout type of guy, you're going to have a pitching staff that bodes well when the defense bodes well. And the defense has been stellar for the Bruins all season long. And I'm sure part of the conversation out there with Bird is, hey, lean on your defense. You're trying to be too fine with your pitches. Seen several pitches down in the dirt, down in the zone. Don't be afraid to attack the Zags bats and lean on those 7 guys behind them to make some plays. And we talked to Coach yesterday, and one of the keys for success for the Bruins in this game was for Bird to soar early. And right now he's struggling.
Barrera at second, Yake at first, nobody out, and here's Schubert. Schubert grounded out to short his first time up. The Bruins would love a ground ball to short again. Strike on the inside corner.
Schubert is one of those leaders on the team as well. We talked about Truby being that guy also. If you have a positive force on the team, it's likely to be Schubert. He's the one that talks to everybody and keeps that energy up in the dugout.
Big swing and a miss, 0-2. Schubert's power has started to emerge here in recent weeks. A couple of home runs last couple of weekends. Chance to tack on a run or 2 more here with a big hit.
You notice those last 2 pitches from Bird on the inside part of the plate. I think that's a key to success for many pitchers, regardless of what kind of velocity you have. There's been such an emphasis from the pitching perspective on peppering on the outside part of the plate. The most difficult area of the plate for batters to cover is down and away. And you see a lot of pitchers, even those the size of Bird and Bees, that nibble too much on the outside instead of challenging on the inside part of the plate.
See how Bird attacks Schubert here. The 0-2. Roll over a ground ball outside of third. Jake Bird, the senior, trying to work around trouble here again in the 3rd inning. Petway is going to be the Game 2 starter for UCLA tomorrow. He's had a good year. Garcia in Game 3 for the Bruins, should they need a Game 3 starter. And time called by the catcher, Rosica. This is something we have not seen from Bird throughout most of the year, because he's had 15 starts this season, 15 quality starts. That's outside, 1-2. Getting into trouble early has not been his MO.
Well, this is definitely a situation where Coach Savage has not anticipated being. He expected Bird to go out there and compete, and as I mentioned, the two mishaps in the last inning, walking a batter and hitting another one prior to that. You don't expect that from your senior leader.
The 1-2 to Schubert. In on the hands, it's going to drop into left field for a base hit. Barrera stops at third. Bases are loaded with Bulldogs. And the cleanup man, Branson Truby, coming up next.
Well, this is a solid two-strike swing. Didn't get all of the big part of the bat on it, but you can see the weight distributed right there, and he actually keeps his weight back, his hands back, and drives it out into left field. That's an excellent at-bat for Schubert. Fought off several pitches and caught a hanging curveball on the inside part of the plate and punched it out to left field.
And now one of the better home run threats in this Gonzaga lineup at the plate. And Truby checked his swing. Strike one.
Well, as you mentioned, Truby has that power, that capability. 8 home runs on the season, more of a dead pull home run guy.
Lays off that one, 1-1. Truby, a senior from Meridian, Idaho. Hit by a pitch and a run scored his first time around. The 1-1. Slider, 1-2.
Nice pitch by Bird, down and away with the slider. Got to be careful on the inside part of the plate. I've been preaching about guys attacking, but this may be a guy that you veer towards the outside part of the plate because he's such a pull hitter. Work away from that strength, or be careful in the zone.
1-2, hit sharply to center. Amaril's not going to have to move much. He'll make the catch, the throw home. Here comes the play. Not in time. They'll throw it down to second, and now they've got the runner hung up. It's Schubert, but he'll get back to first as UCLA blows an opportunity to get a second out. Zags.
Well, this is a nice job by the Zags, putting pressure on the Bruins defense. Nothing good happens when the catcher catches the ball, and the Zags so far putting the ball in play, producing runs. A well-struck ball by Truby out to center field.
37th run batted in for Truby this year. And in a game where we fully expected runs to be at a premium, Gonzaga continues what we saw from them in the West Coast Conference Tournament. Scoring and scoring early.
Yes, and you consider, we go back to our open when we talked about the pitching and defense. And actually, if you look over the landscape of each team.
Well, they're going to appeal to third, saying that Barrera had left early. It's not the case.
That's a smart decision to try to see if Barrera left early. I thought he was pretty clean and waiting at third until the ball was caught out in center field. But going back to my point about this team and putting pressure on, you didn't expect this kind of production this early in the game, and yet they got 3 runs just on 3 hits.
It's fouled on the first pitch by Bird to Pinarini. Pinarini, a walk and a run scored in the second inning. Gonzaga 32-22 on the year. They've been hotter than a firecracker here the last few weeks, winning 12 of their last 15. They've got a 3-0 lead on UCLA. Outside. The last 2 times in this tournament, Gonzaga played as the 3 seed in 2009 and 2016. This is lifted down the line, left field, coming over is Idens. He's going to make the catch. This is going to be tough to score on for Yake. He's going to try. The throw is in time. What a throw by Idens, and the tag applied by Rosica. A double play to end the 3rd. And it stays a 3-run game. More great defense in this game between the Bruins and the Zags.
An excellent throw by Idens, an absolute strike, and Rosie doing his job at the plate to end the inning.
Idens leads it off for UCLA, down 3-0 now as they hit here in the bottom of the 3rd. Alongside Damon Hughes on play, Matvick here in Minneapolis. Game 1 of the Minneapolis Regional. Minnesota and Canisius coming up next. UCLA lucky to only be down 3 runs here in the bottom of the 3rd. They needed a double play to hold Gonzaga to just 1 run last inning. A beautiful play by Jeremy Idens from left field, and maybe even a better tag applied by the catcher, Daniel Rosica. Little nubber to second. Brashears will flip to Veith for the first out. I'm a little surprised that Yake tried to score on this play, actually.
I'm not so surprised. I think what you have is a mindset with the Zags is their foot on the gas pedal, forcing the Bruins to make plays. Now, we know their defense is stellar, but you have to make an absolute strike-thrown ball here. And Rosie with the nice block and concentration at home plate. This early in the game, I don't have a problem with them taking some chances. That might have been the spark that the Bruins needed to get things going.
I can imagine Jake Bird was the one giving the biggest high fives.
Yes.
To Idens and Rosica. This is going to twist out a play out the bat of Kevin Kendall, who was a strikeout victim his first time up.
I think initially they may have thought that ball was hit a little bit deeper into left field, because it seemed that break went immediately back to third base with the plan on tagging.
Pitches up to Kendall. The Bruins, the 2 seed here in Minneapolis, one of 4 teams from the Pac-12 to get into the national tournament. Stanford and Oregon State, of course, national seeds. Washington and at large. Up and in, it's 2-2 as Kendall went after it and couldn't get it. UCLA, by the way, against those other Pac-12 teams who are still playing, went 4-5 on the year. That just missed. Still trying to figure out Jeff Head's strike zone, and I wouldn't be surprised if John Savage and Mark Machtolf are trying to do the same thing.
You're exactly right. That's a good pitcher's pitch there. Kendall not very tall in stature.
There's strike 3. Kendall was trying to coax a walk there. Doesn't happen. 2 down.
Well, that's Kendall's second strikeout of the game, and this pitch actually looked a little bit worse than the previous pitch, but you can see right on the outside part of the plate, right to the target. That run away from the left-handed bat, Kendall, gets him the strikeout looking. Those are 2 really good pitches by Bees there.
Second strikeout for Bees. And now he gets to face Strumpf with the bases empty. That's always preferred when you're going against this man. He doubled in the first inning. His 19th double of the year. He's 1 for 1. Strumpf is a semifinalist for the Dick Hauser Trophy. That's the award given annually to the best college baseball player. The winner will be announced Friday, the day before the College World Series in Omaha. Brendan McKay won it last year, the two-way player for Louisville. He also won the Golden Spikes Award last year. The Golden Spikes Award is a little bit different than the Dick Hauser Trophy because the Golden Spikes goes to the best amateur player in the country. Swung on and missed as Strump couldn't get it. Bees back-to-back strikeouts to get out of the third. His first 1-2-3 inning, and the Zags lead at 3-rip. Welcome back to the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. We're in the land of 10,000 lakes. Great state of Minnesota where there was ice on the lakes a little over a month ago. Here's our bracket in Minneapolis. Canisius in Minnesota. Gophers the host here. That'll be coming up later tonight. And the winner of this regional will face off against the winner of the Corvallis regional. Oregon State is the 1 seed there. It's Jake Veith, Nick Brooks, and Jack Mactoff. 6, 7, and 8 to hit against Jake Bird. We'll see if Bird can find his rhythm. Since the beginning of the second inning, he has been out of rhythm. Veith was a strikeout victim his first time up, but always dangerous. 10 homers on the year, also 35 runs batted in. Gonzaga 3 runs on 3 hits.
Well, you notice Veith in the batter's box. He does get healthy swings, but they seem to be a pull cut where he's trying to hit the ball hard over the fence on the right field side. And Bird has really done a nice job pitching away from that swing.
Pulled down the line, backhanded by Tolia. He'll get up and flip to Bird covering. Michael Tolia is going to be around this game for a long time. He could be a first-round draft pick next year.
Well, very athletic, played in the outfield last year. His natural position is this first base, and there you see good concentration and the front flip to Bird for the first out. Nothing better than having an athletic first baseman that can hit the ball, and by the way, a switch hitter. So as you said, Tolia definitely has a bright future.
Nick Brooks with an RBI double to get the scoring started today, back in the second inning. Brooks has done well in NCAA tournament play in his career. He had a hit in all 3 games of the Fort Worth Regional in 2016. It's behind in the count here, 0-2. That was Gonzaga's last NCAA tournament appearance.
You notice in Bird's approach changing just a bit, working backwards, start off with off speed and then comes back with the fastball.
Ground ball to Kendall. And this is more of the Jake Bird that we have come to know. Gets a couple of quick outs here to start the 4th.
Well, his issue hasn't been about necessarily when the ball's been put in play or where. He's got obviously given up 3 hits in this game. It's been about those early free passes that he's given in the second and third inning.
Jack Mactoff at the plate. An RBI sac fly for Mactoff, his second run batted in his college career. The coach's son getting the start in left field today. Hit hard. Snared by Strumpf in the short right field. Grass got him. What a play by Chase Strumpf. From short right field. Gets the 3rd out and helps Jake Bird have a 9-pitch inning. But Gonzaga has a 3-run lead. We'll talk to Mark Mactoff next. How about this defense from the Bruins 2-bagger? Good start for the Zags here in the national tournament. They lead 3-0 as we go to the bottom of the fourth. And here's Coach Machtoff.
Well, Coach, you got Daniel Bees out there really doing a nice job against these Bruin bats. What does he have to do to continue with this progress through this game?
Well, he's just got to keep doing what he's doing. He's been real competitive. He's throwing his breaking ball for a strike, and they're good up and down the lineup. So he's just got to keep doing those things that have helped him so far.
Coach, this is year number 15 as the head man at Gonzaga. What sets this team apart from some that you've had in the past?
Oh, well, I think pretty special defensively. And I think we led the country in fielding, and we've got good starting pitching. And offensively, we've gotten better the last month, and I thought we've done a good job so far today with 2 strikes.
No doubt about it. You got the 3-run lead. Thanks, Coach. We appreciate your time. Good luck.
You bet. Thank you.
Mark Machtoff, head coach of Gonzaga. He's been on the staff with the Zags for 28 years. This is his 3rd trip to the national tournament, 2nd in the last 3 years. And like you said, a very good baseball man. As Daniel Bees, his starting right-hander, faces Tolia, Stronach, and Amaral, 4, 5, and 6 here in the 4th.
Such a great story coming from Stanford, going home during the summers, and taking over this Zags program.
Called strike 3 as Daniel Bees has 3 straight strikeouts going back to last inning.
Designated hitter Jack Stronach.
Well, a good mixture of pitches by Bees here. Starts off with the fastball, comes back on the second pitch with the curveball. And there's that fastball on the outside part of the plate. Too close to take, but a nice, strong first out for Bees.
And he works ahead of Stronach. 4 strikeouts today for Daniel Bees. You strike out Strumpf and Tolia back-to-back. Not in the same inning, but back-to-back. I mean, that's a notch in your belt.
That is. 2 of the toughest outs on this Bruins team. Bees goes at it business-like out on the mound. And one thing I do notice that we may see affect him later in this game, he slows up his motion and delivery.
Wow, there's another one. 4 straight strikeouts. And Daniel Bees is in full lather now.
Well, we talked about his potential earlier, where now he is flourishing. Good slider right there on the outside part of the plate. Absolutely buckles Stronach.
2 down for Amaral.
And as I mentioned, that slider right there, he has a tendency to start slowing up his delivery just a bit when he's throwing some off speed. If he can get to the point where everything looks the same.
Ooh. That rides in on Amaral and hit him. Second UCLA Bruin to be hit by a pitch today by Bees.
Fastball up and in, and no chance to get out of the way by Amaral as he takes his free pass. That's exactly how you want to wear a pitch. Roll towards the catcher.
So a base runner for Mitchell, who walked his first time to the dish. Runner goes. Here comes the throw from Pinarini, who was seemingly ready for it. It skips into center field, and on his way to third is Amaral. I'm not exactly sure if that was a pitch out, but it was almost as if it was. It was certainly well out of the zone. The throw was down, and it skipped into center.
Excuse me, he got an absolute great jump here. This was a fastball on the outside part of the plate. It looked like I can understand it may have looked like a pitch out there. Just an outside fastball, and an errant throw by the catcher, and Amaral gets the scoop to third base. I think they were ready for him to steal, but I don't know if that was a pitch out.
Runner at third now for UCLA. Fly ball left field. Going back is Machtoff, circling around in front of it, and makes the catch on the run toward the line to get the third out. So Bees hits Amaral, but he's able to work around it. Gonzaga leading 3-0 as we go to the fifth. Weather absolutely perfect for game one, and it should be great here again tonight for Minnesota and Canisius. Tomorrow, some concerns with the forecast. We'll see what happens in the way of rain for Saturday. But mid to upper 70s here for the first day of the Minneapolis Regional. Gonzaga leading. They're going to try and add to their lead against Jake Bird. It'll be 9-1-2. Brashears, Barrera, and Yake. Jake Bird had a 1-2-3 fourth after a 1-2-3 first. It's the second and third innings where he really had issues with the Zags. Gonzaga only has 3 hits, Danon, but it's the 2 walks and the hit batsmen that have really thrown gas on the fire as far as UCLA is concerned.
Well, this is the trouble that Bird has gotten into in those second and third innings, allowing the leadoff batters on base.
And that is a strike on the inside corner. I'm not exactly sure where Jeff Head's strike zone is, because that certainly looked like ball 4.
Yeah, that looked like it almost hit Brashears. He was moving out of the way of that fastball.
And now it's 3-2.
You know, Brashears at the 9 hole. Everyone considers a 9 hole being like another leadoff batter. He hugs the plate in extreme fashion, right on top of the plate, trying to constrict that strike zone for Bird.
Three-2 from Bird. Ground ball to short. Kendall up with it and gets out number 1.
Only 1 strikeout thus far in this game for Bird, and there's one thing I recognize for the Zags is their consistent efforts in the batter's box to not get cheated. Everyone is getting quality swings, at least 2 swings per batter in this game. And there it is again. They don't care about amping up that pitch count for Bird. They're getting in there with a purpose to put the ball in play and put pressure on this Bruins defense.
Barrera 1 for 2. The single came in the 3rd inning. He also scored a run. Sprayed down the line and foul in left. Gonzaga baseball has really benefited from the success of the basketball program in recent years. But recruiting still a challenge for Mark Mactoff. It's a private school, of course. It's a cold weather school. That pitch is down. 1-2. But he's getting great kids to come to the program, including this true freshman, Isaac Barrera.
Well, one of the assets for him is that they don't have an in-state or out-of-state tuition, as he mentioned. So, but the prominence of the basketball program, at least people know where Gonzaga is.
Barrera goes down swinging. So Jake Bird, who fell behind Brashears 3 balls and no strikes and is able to get him to ground out, gets the second out with a strikeout of Barrera.
Well, it's taking a little while for Bird to get into a rhythm.
Here's Yake. He'll lift it to center. Easy play for Amaral. Second straight 1-2-3 inning for Bird. Gonzaga leading 3-0 after 4.5 here in Minnesota. Clay Matvick, Danon Hughes back here, bottom of the 5th, 3-0 Gonzaga, and John Savage, UCLA head coach, joins us on headset.
Coach, your pitcher Bird struggled a little bit in the middle of those innings, the second and third. What can we expect for the rest of the game from him?
Well, he did struggle, you're right. I mean, he uncharacteristically was off the plate with his ball and got in bad counts, and they really took advantage of it. They had a lot of foul balls and had some good at-bats, and they made him pay. Now, he seemed to kind of find himself a little more the last 2 innings. So hopefully, he's a grinder and he's a Pac-12 Friday night starter, and now he's he needs to show it. And he is into the 6th inning, and he's kind of found himself a little bit. So that's the good news.
Well, this is a good sign for your team here as Kreidler is hit by a pitch here to start the 5th inning. What's it going to take offensively to knock Daniel Bees off his game? He's found a rhythm, it seems, at times.
Yeah, and he's found his rhythm really from the get-go. I mean, he got out of that jam in the first and really has kind of taken off since then, and our guy hasn't found a rhythm. We got this is a big couple of bats coming up, and we need to get a run. There's a lot of baseball left. It's only the bottom of the 5th, so we need to get a run here.
All right, John, we'll let you get back to work. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
John
it.
Savage. In his 14th year at UCLA, he's got a national championship under his belt. This is the 2nd trip to Minneapolis for UCLA this spring. They lost to Illinois before beating Michigan State and Minnesota in the DQ Classic at US Bank Stadium back in March. That was under the roof, even though it was snowing outside and a lot of snow on the ground. They were able to get those games in 72-degree comfort at the Vikings Stadium. And UCLA played pretty well that weekend. And then the next weekend they played a tournament at Dodger Stadium. So UCLA back here in Minnesota. They're down 3 runs in the opening game of the regional. Trying to bunt it again is Rosica, and he's going to get the job done.
I got it.
That rode up on Rosica, but able to keep the ball down on the ground and get Kreidler over to second base.
Well, the 2 pitches that Rosica went after to drop down the bump, both were up and in, and this is just a testament to how good of a bunter he is. He's been known to push bunt down that right side, gets the job done, and it's one of the great things about having him at that spot in the order. They don't expect much offensively from him, but he is one of the better bunters on this team.
Yeah, you'll take that from your catcher in the 9 spot and get it back to the top of the order for Idens, who's 0 for 2. Pinarini comes out for a quick chat with Bees. Everybody looks extremely short next to this man. 6'8", and that's not an exaggeration. He's a legit 6'8". Sometimes they inflate, height and weight in the program. Not this guy. He is 6'8", about 250.
Looks a little bit more slender than 250, but he's very effective out there. And you and I mentioned, doesn't have a lot of mileage on his arm. Sustained an injury in high school, then gray-shirted his first year at Gonzaga. There's a huge upside, and you can tell he's just a relaxed, mellow guy. He brings that onto the field, and very effective.
Draft starts on Monday, and Bees could hear his name called in the first 10 rounds. There's a strike, 1-1. Ball and a strike to Idens with a man in scoring position for UCLA. They're 0 for 3 today with runners in scoring position against Daniel Bees, the Gonzaga Game 1 starter all season long, looking for his 8th win on the year. It's fouled back to the mesh, 1-2.
Well, as Coach Savage talked about, there's a lot of baseball left in this game, but they are struggling right now getting 2 Bs and just 1 hit on the afternoon. They have to string together some hits to get this going.
1-2 to Idens. Now 2-2. The sophomore left fielder who made a great throw to the plate to cut off a run in the 3rd inning. Otherwise it would at least be 4-0. Threw out Ernie Yake for a double play to get out of the third. Jeremy Idens at the plate led the league, the Pac-12, with a .406 average against conference opponents. You can see his season numbers with runners in scoring position, not too shabby.
Not shabby at all. And to have an athletic outfield like the Bruins have with Idens, Amaral, and Mitchell, guys that can cover a lot of real estate, good on the base paths as well.
Idens is a draft-eligible sophomore. Now, whether or not he gets drafted or drafted high enough to leave college, we'll see, but people are looking at him. Foul back. Another good at bat here for UCLA. Can it bear fruit? They've been able to get just one hit against Bees so far. Kreidler was hit by a pitch to start the inning. He was sacrificed by Rosica over to second. The 2-2 again to Idens. Breaking ball hit high, but not very deep. Maktoff will trot under it to make the catch for the second out. Daniel Bees threw 4 2/3 as a shutout going. At one point, he struck out 4 in a row, Dana.
Well, he's been very effective mixing up his pitches. You see, he's worked out of the zone, but made it appetizing enough to get the Bruins to swing at. And even his mistakes, he's been able to come back strong. Strikeouts looking 5 on the afternoon. And we knew he was going to be a guy that was going to be around the zone and very effective again.
And he works ahead of Kendall, who has struck out twice against Bees.
Had just the one mistake pitch, the double to Strumpf early on. Well, other than that, he hit a couple of batters, actually 3 batters in this game. The Bruins haven't been able to capitalize on those mistakes.
Daniel Bees already has a degree in business administration. Tell you what, Mark Maktoff, he's got some smart kids on this team. Some guys you might just classify as intellectuals, and this Daniel Bees character qualifies. Took something off that one, just missed inside. Breaking ball out of the zone. It's 2-1 here to Kendall. Ground ball left side coming over. Yake, the third baseman. And Bees hits the leadoff man, Ryan Kreidler. But UCLA can't push him across. With day one of the NCAA baseball tournament for 2018, some headlines. The Gators beginning their title defense, of course, won in Omaha last year, the first title in program history, trying to become the first team to repeat since South Carolina, also from the SEC. And that league tying a national record with 10 regional bids, including 4 top 8 national seeds. And the Pac-12 has 2 top 8 national seeds in Stanford and Oregon State. Gunnar Schubert is a quick out for Jake Bird, who has really found a rhythm. He has retired 8 in a row. He struggled in the second and the third, Danon, but he is finding himself.
Yeah, he's found his rhythm. He's relaxed on the mound. He's inducing those rollovers and leaning on his defense. This is what they expected from him early on. Had those struggles that amounted to runs for the Zags. But neither offense is really stellar in this game thus far. Give a lot of credit to Bees and Bird for how they're competing on the mound.
That one's touched pretty well by Truby to center for a base hit. Truby has had 3 productive at-bats. That's the 4th hit for Gonzaga. 1 out base runner for the Bulldogs. The ESPN Network's bringing you every game on the road to Omaha, starting with regional coverage on ESPN2, the U, the SEC Network, and ESPN3. Whip-around coverage also available through ESPN3. And the Bases Loaded channel, which is absolutely terrific. It gives you an overview of everything going on in all 16 sites. Truby's on for Pinarini. Thrown away. That's going to hop the fence. So Truby's in scoring position with one out here in the 6th inning.
The errant pickoff throw by Bird just gets the one base as it goes out of play. But really no chance at first base for Tolia to block this ball. Tries to get his body in front of it. And Truby gets to second base.
That pitch looked like Bird labored on.
Yeah.
You can even hear him grunt up here.
And that's happened on a few occasions this afternoon from Bird. And I'll go back to my earlier comment, Clay. He looks like he's pressing out there. He looks like he's trying too hard, not very fluid.
He's only given up the 4 hits, and they've been scattered about. It's the problems he's got himself into around those hits, the walks, the hit batsman. He throws the ball away just moments ago. And he's up out of the zone again to Pinarini. It's 2-0. So the UCLA bullpen is active. And it has been for the last inning or so. You see Garrett Barker there, a lefty, getting loose. The bullpen has been a strength for the Bruins. They've got 3 relievers who have 30-plus appearances. So John Savage has the weapons, and he's not afraid to use them. Strike in the outside corner. 2-1.
But Savage has not had to go to that bullpen this early or even start thinking about guys coming into relief for Bird because he's been a staple for this rotation, going deep in just about every game. Every time he gets out there on the mound, he competes into the 7th, 8th inning at most times.
Pinarini swings and misses to even up the count at 2-2. The shortest outing this year for Bird was way back in February against Baylor when he went 5 2/3. He's pitched 5 1/3 here today. Down 3-0. Truby at second base and 1 out. 2-2 to the Zags catcher. Outside. This is the 3rd 3-ball count for Bird today, with the dangerous Jake Veith on deck. Fly ball. Long run for the outfielder and for the third baseman. Neither will get there. Kreidler had the best chance with his back to the infield.
Good hustle by Kreidler trying to get down the line to make that play with the wind blowing from left to right. Held it up just a bit. That's a tough play.
There's the Paul Bunyan-esque Jake Veith ready to hit next for Gonzaga. Really fits here in Minnesota.
Oh yeah,
that kind of beard. Pop back over the top of the press box, out of play.
I've been extremely impressed by the Zags approaching the batter's box, and even though they've had a couple of strikeouts in this game, they don't seem to get cheated. They get their hacks up in the batter's box, and they don't seem fazed by Bird's pitching arsenal. His fastball, his change, his slider. Relatively effective.
3-2 the other way into left field, base hit. Truby will be held at third by the third base coach, Danny Evans. And the Zags have runners at the corners with one out. And here comes the big lumberjack now.
2 consecutive hits by the Zags. As you see, a fastball on the outside part of the plate. Just goes with the pitch, a good 2-strike approach and swing. And with Idens out there in left field and the rifle he showed earlier, they're not going to test it now.
Rosica out for behind home plate, flashing the signs to the infield. They're looking for a double play ball to get out of the inning. Veith has been retired twice without incident. Struck out in the second inning and grounded out to first in the fourth. He's 0 for 2. (3-0) Zags looking for more here in the sixth. Swinging at the first pitch is Veith, but right at Idens. Running, tagging, it's Truby, and he will score. Idens with a good arm, but it was deep enough off the bat of Veith to get the 4th run home.
The aggressive bats in the batter's box have helped the Zags all afternoon long. Initially off the bat, no question by Truby at third base that he was going back to tag. They test the arm, but the Bruins can't get it done. And again, the aggressive approaches by the Zags have gotten them thus far in this game. 4 runs on the board with just 5 hits.
Yeah, that's the 3rd sacrifice fly today for Gonzaga. They'll take it.
Yes.
As Nick Brooks comes up, and he's whacking at the first pitch. Lofts it foul. This is what Brooks did back in the second inning, an RBI double. They got the scoring started today for Gonzaga.
Not a bad pitch by Bird on the outside part of the plate. Goes off the glove of Mitchell out in right field. That's how things got started for the Zags.
Inside to Brooks. 1-1. And again, I heard the grunt from Bird. A little effort. It was only 77 miles an hour, but it was all out for Bird on that pitch.
It's like we're at the U.S. Open or something. The tennis players that grunt on every swing, and that's what we're seeing from Bird out there, is a little bit of laboring, and sometimes it's just a little bit of a habit, even throwing an off speed. We've seen those last 2 pitches. The grunts come right after. And here, pitches well off the plate, and Rosica behind the plate trying to relax the pitcher, or at least tell him to calm down just a bit. Just trying too hard, and no matter how much you want it or how bad you want it or how hard you're trying, you still have to be that effective.
Three and 1 to Brooks. You see the next pitch will be 100 for Jake Bird. And it's touched to center. Amaral will trot over to the power alley to make the catch for the 3rd out. But Gonzaga tacks on another run in the 6th inning. It's 4-0 Gonzaga. Well, if you had to pick a top storyline from this game so far, you're looking at it. It's Daniel Bees and his outing for Gonzaga.
Has been amazing thus far in this game, really controlling the Bruins bats, working his entire arsenal, fastball, slider, curveball, changeup, all of it working extremely well. Right-handed, left-handed batters, it's not much more you can say. The Bruins just 1 hit on the afternoon.
Chase Strumpf, who has the only hit for UCLA today, leading it off here in the 6th inning. It'll be Strumpf, Tolia, and Stronach. This is the hit for the Bruins. It was a double in the 1st.
You can tell the power displayed by Strumpf. 1 hops over the right field wall, but they haven't been able to string anything together or take advantage of any miscues by Bees in this game. You always hear about players taking on the aura of their coaches, but I think a lot in this game, you're seeing the Zags players batting as well as fielding, taking on that more relaxed approach like what we're seeing from Daniel Bees.
Daniel Fredrickson is the new right fielder for Gonzaga. And this is something Mactoff has been doing throughout the year. Middle innings, bringing in defensive replacements. So Fredrickson comes in for Nick Brooks. As that one's fouled back to the backstop. Count stays 1-2. Daniel Bees looking in command for the Zags on the mound today. There's a base hit. So perhaps a chink in Bees' armor here. And Strumpf is now 2 for 3 as both of the bingos for the Bruins. And Tolia, who's very dangerous, comes up for the 3rd time. I mean, this is an offense that has scored 7 runs per game and averaged right around 10 hits against Pac-12 opponents. Just in a funk today, can't figure out Bees, but maybe this is a sign with Strumpf getting aboard.
I think so. At least you give credit to Strumpf. He's been the one guy that has figured out Bees on the mound. But this young man has to get things going, and we talked about it earlier. The bulk of the RBIs and the production has come from these 3-4 hitters.
Michael Tolia is from Gig Harbor, Washington, which is south of Seattle, completely across the state from Spokane. Good chance he'll be a first rounder next year. He takes a strike, 0-2.
Bees has done a nice job against the dangerous Tolia on the outside part of the plate. The last at bat, he struck out looking on a questionable fastball. But Bees, give him credit. He's not afraid to go back out there.
Swung on, and that's going to get past the third baseman Yake into left field. On his way to third is Strumpf. He'll hold up there. It's a double for Tolia. And this is the biggest Bruins threat since the first inning.
That was a nice job by Tolia, allowing the ball to get deep into his stance with 2 strikes. Has such confidence in his hands that with this pitch down the middle, allows it to go deep into his stance and just punches it past the third baseman, Yake. Pretty easy double.
Now John Savage is going to call on a pinch hitter. It's Jake Prees. One of the team captains for the Bruins. His dad Jeff played at UCLA. He is called on into a big spot. Bruins down 4-0. 2 on, nobody out. We'll take outside. So Stronach is done. This is Prees now hitting in the 5 spot. Stronach started as the DH.
Well, Prees is 4th on the team in batting average coming into this weekend. Really has embraced this role.
Ground ball back up the middle. Cut off by Schubert. He's got one play. It's to first. They'll get the runner, but UCLA's on the board as Strumpf comes home, and it's 4-1.
Well, the Bruins are getting a little bit more aggressive in the batter's box, not allowing Bees to get comfortable or more comfortable, I should say, with his approach.
RBI ground out for Prees. Amaral up next. He's 0 for 1. He's been hit by a pitch. Well, it's something for UCLA. As they get a couple of hits this inning, and it's forced the Zags pen to get going. Calvin LeBrun out there warming up. Ground ball to short. This will be the second out. It's close play at first, but they do get him. And Tolle is able to score on that play to cut Gonzaga's lead in half.
Chipping away by the Bruins right now, and this is what happens when you can get things going in early in an at-bat. 2 consecutive hits. You can plate the runs with just putting the ball in play. It's exactly what the Zags have done thus far in this game, and now the Bruins are taking a page out of that book.
Now the base is empty for Garrett Mitchell. He swings at the first pitch and dumps it into right. Third hit of the inning against Bees.
It's a nice job of patience by Mitchell. It's an off-speed delivery by Bees, and you can see how he waits back on it. Not a bad pitch, down and in, but right in the area for Mitchell to drive that ball to right field.
So UCLA finally starting to time Daniel Bees.
That's a key point, Clay, because you see a guy like Mitchell, bottom of the lineup guy, bottom third, swing at a first pitch curveball.
And here's another base hit for Kreidler. His first hit of the game. Mitchell gets to third base. Runners at the corners for the Bruins with 2 outs as the inning continues. And Rosica will come up. Well, the Bruins had no offensive life between the 2nd and 5th innings. They got it going now here in the 6th.
Third time through the lineup. Give credit to the Bruins for being productive in this game against Bees, but up until this point, he's been outstanding.
Now Savage is going to call on another pinch hitter. Kyle Cuellar is going to hit in Rosica's spot. And would likely stay in the game behind the plate. He's been one of the guys who has rotated at catcher this year along with Will McInerney.
Now this can be a crucial change in the game. Rosica very strong behind the plate. We've seen his exploits thus far in this game.
And now a trip to the mound from Brandon Harmon, the Gonzaga pitching coach. In his 3rd year in that role. Doing an amazing job. The team ERA under 3, 6th in the country. He's handled this staff magnificently. He sees Daniel Bees find trouble in the 6th inning, out there to talk to him as the bullpen warms up down the left field line. 4 hits against Daniel Bees here in the 6th inning. He hadn't given up a hit since the 1st.
Well, as we mentioned, they're figuring out Bees right now, getting to him early in counts, trusting their hands a little bit more, and even getting to the point of comfort where they're swinging early at off speed to get on the base paths.
Kyle Cuellar, the sophomore from Arcadia, California, comes up now for UCLA. Pinch hitter here in the 6th inning. Cuellar, a freshman All-American a year ago. Comes up with 2 on and 2 out. Daniel Bees trying to get through the 6th with the lead intact. 2-0.
There you see the defense playing relatively shallow out in left field and center field, a little bit deeper in right field by Fredrickson. We've seen that kind of the game plan for each team is played the opponents to punch the ball opposite field more times than not.
The 2-0 pitch. There's a strike. Mitchell at third, Kreidler at first. 2 runs already in for UCLA. Cuellar, no home runs on the year. Wind is blowing to the right field corner. Swung on and missed. Chased it up in the zone. And now it's 2-2.
Good, strong, elevated fastball by Bees. Blown right by the batter. And right now, a 2-2 count. Might be a situation where you have Kreidler on the move at first base.
Cuellar chokes up off the knob of the bat. The 2-2 pitch in on the hands, and he fists it foul. Now this UCLA offense has come to life here in the 6th inning. They've scored 2. First 5 innings, a combined 1 for 15 were the Bruins. In this inning, they're 4 for 6 at the plate. Runners on the move. Pitch out and out of the zone. It's 3-2. Pinarini thought about throwing to second, but then thought better of it and looks Mitchell back to the bag at third. So now second and third, a 3-2 count at the plate with 2 outs.
These are the clutch situations you need to have if you want to continue your season and get to your goals. Clutch 2-out hits.
Bees comes set. Got him! And a fist pump from the 6'8" right-hander as he tromps off the mound with the lead still in his back pocket. UCLA gets 2, but that's all they'll get. 4-2 Zags here in Minnesota. Welcome back to the NCAA Baseball Regionals, presented by Capital One. Sun-drenched day here in the Twin Cities. Gonzaga still leads at 4-2 as they hit here in the top of the 7th inning. It'll be Jack Mactoff, Carson Brashears, and Isaac Barrera. Ground ball, right side. Strumpf from short right field, and he's made plays from there a couple of times today. Retires Mactoff, who's now 0 for 3 with an RBI sac fly to his credit. UCLA needs to play good defense here and keep things where they are. Jake Bird needs a good inning now that his offense has given him support.
Well, when they got those 2 runs in the last inning, that really helped them to exhale in the dugout and relax a little bit more. And being the home team on the board, they'll have that last opportunity to plate runs. But getting those 2 runs was huge for the Bruins.
It was also big for Gonzaga that they held on to the lead for Daniel Bees, who has been absolutely outstanding today. That's foul down the line for Carson Brashears, who's 0 for 2 with a couple of groundouts. Got to be honest with you, Dana, I didn't think we would see Jake Bird in this game back in the 4th or 5th this deep. Yeah. Here he is now pitching in the 7th. A couple innings ago, it looked like he wasn't long for this one.
Well, Coach Savage mentioned it when we were able to chat with him mid-game about just recognizing how much more of a rhythm he had as the game has moved along. And if you're only going to have him for 1 shot throughout this weekend and he's your ace, the only senior, you're going to give him an opportunity to get himself out of his hole.
He's had to Brashears 2 strikes, misses outside 1-2. Barrera at the top of the order on deck for Gonzaga. who took the lead in the second inning. They scored 2 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the sixth. They've never trailed in this contest. Another ground ball to Strumpf at second base. He'll charge and throw out Brashears for out number 2. We're in the Minneapolis Regional. First game of our regional here in the Twin Cities. Canisius, the 4 seed, will take on the hosts, the number 14 national seed Golden Gophers of Minnesota under John Anderson, who has had quite a run over the better part of 4 decades in Minnesota. And this might be the best team he's ever had.
Yeah, that remains to be seen. It's one of the most athletic teams he's ever had. He'll admit that. Top to bottom in the lineup.
Another ground ball on the infield. Kendall. Low throw, but scooped out by Tolia. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Jake Bird, who is good through 7. Down a couple, but good. Both starters still in our game as we're back here in Minneapolis. Gonzaga leading UCLA 4-2 as the Bruins get ready to hit in the bottom of the 7th. They get their first 2 runs last inning against Daniel Bees, the starting pitcher for Gonzaga, who's been terrific through 6. But he gave up 4 hits last inning. We'll see what happens here. This is Jace Vanderbreak now in left field. Jack Mactoff, the coach's son, is out of the game.
Well, going right along with the scouting report, interchangeable parts in the corner outfielders. Fredrickson last inning going into right field, and Vanderbeek going into left field now.
Jeremy Idens pops it up. In foul ground, looking up is Veith, and he's going to run out of room. Idens is 0 for 3 today. Again, just 5 hits for UCLA through the first 6 innings. They got 4 last inning and scored their 2 runs.
You wonder how much longer Bees will be in this game. This will be the 4th time through the lineup against a dangerous offensive team that just got that spark going last inning.
Well, if he keeps doing stuff like that, he may be in for the duration of the game. That's strikeout number 7 for Daniel Bees. 1 out in the 7th as we recap the game for you, in case you're just joining us. Gonzaga got 2 in the second inning, a double off the bat of Nick Brooks. He has since left the game. That got the scoring started. They would get 1 more in the 3rd. And then they would score 1 in the 6th. And Daniel Bees has really been the story of this contest. 7 strikeouts. He has held a very good offense of UCLA to 5 hits today.
Well, what we've known about Bees coming into this game is his relaxed approach, very mellow on the mound, and we've seen that. Strong command. Check that off the list as well as you see his numbers. 7 strikeouts on the afternoon, inducing ground balls and weak fly balls.
Kevin Kendall 0 for 3 with a couple of Ks. Two and 1.
I think if you're Coach Mactoff, you're extremely impressed by what this young man has done. Just a junior, draft eligible.
Now it's 2 and 2. And tomorrow, Coach Mactoff will send side armor Alec Jacob to the mound. He is a true freshman right-hander from Spokane, and he has had a great rookie year. 90 strikeouts in 95 innings. Opponents sitting under 200 against him. Swung out and missed. Back-to-back Ks this inning for Bees and 3 straight overall.
And you've seen a little bit of emotion displayed by the junior on the mound. His 8th strikeout of the afternoon. That slider down and in. Devastating against left-handed batters. That's the 2nd strikeout of the inning for Bees. Always like to see the quiet guys get a little amped up, and justifiably so.
Hard not to show emotion this time of year. That's fouled off by Strumpf. He's been one of the guys for UCLA that's been able to figure out Bees today. 2 for 3 with a double and a single. We saw Bees go on a little tear like this before. He strung 4 strikeouts together in the 3rd and 4th innings. He's got 3 in a row now. And he's ahead in the count. 2 strikes to Chase Strumpf. The 0-2. That was a defensive swing if I've ever seen one. That breaking ball had Strumpf tied up, and all he could do was push it foul.
I love watching Bees pitch on both sides of the plate. That breaking ball started out pretty much at the backside of the batter, Strumpf. He did everything he could to protect himself and live for another pitch.
He wastes one. It's 1-2. And then in Game 3, if Gonzaga needs a Game 3 starter, Mac Lardner will go, and he's pretty good too. He's 7-3 on the year. Struck him out. Bees strikes out the side in the 7th, his 9th of the game.
Bees doing his thing. Outstanding performance by the junior right-hander. Striking out the side using all his pitches.
Clay Matvick, Dana Hughes back here in Minnesota. The ESPN networks are bringing you every game on the road to Omaha, starting with our regional coverage today and taking you right through the College World Series. Matt Schick and the Professor Mike Rooney are anchoring Bases Loaded right now. All coverage available on the ESPN app. So here we go to the 8th inning. Gonzaga leading 4-2. Gonzaga is the 3 seed in this region. UCLA the 2 seed. So we might have an upset in the making here. A lot of game to be played yet. Ernie Yake leading it off for the Dogs. Yake, Schubert, and Truby for Gonzaga.
How about the outstanding freshman campaign from this young man this season? And I asked the question yesterday to Coach, hey, did you expect to have this young man perform at this level like he's done all season? Usually you don't have those high expectations. And without a hesitation, he's like, oh yeah, I knew it. We knew it from recruiting him that he could be that guy. We wondered where he was going to play. He looks more like a middle infielder, right, but it just shows his versatility that has him at that hot corner.
He's certainly got the arm for third base. Ground ball to second. There's Strumpf. He's been busy on the infield today for UCLA. 1 down as Yake is hitless today. What a pitching matchup we have had in the first game of the Twin Cities Regional, Minneapolis Regional officially. And Daniel Bees still in the game. So starter Jake Bird for UCLA. I think both of these guys were going to get drafted anyway. Both of these guys have helped their draft stock with the outings here in the national tournament.
Absolutely. Even Bird, the struggles he had early in this game, just his ability to show that he can recover and come back and persevere, not have his best stuff, but still be able to compete in this fashion. I'm sure a lot of scouts are admiring that, and then many more are admiring that young man right there and what he's been able to do this afternoon.
This one nailed to the third baseman, Kreidler. And Schubert is a quick out. Wow. 7 in a row set down by Jake Bird. As there you see Daniel Bees staying loose. He is showing no signs of coming out of this game, especially after striking out the side in the 7th. But it is Gonzaga with the 2-run lead. Branson Truby now. He has had 3 productive plate appearances. And he hits this one foul. Just outside the bag at third. Daniel Jimenez was right on the play to call it foul. As Truby made a bid for an infield single.
Well, right on top of it, indeed. But you can see Kreidler over there still making the play. Good strong throw to first base, but an accurate call.
Truby hit by a pitch, an RBI sac fly, and a single. He has scored twice. It's going to get out of play.
And the grunts are getting stronger and stronger as we move along. Jake Bird on the mound.
Bird has gotten the last 5 hitters to ground out.
You go back, the story of his day will be the hiccups in the second and third inning. And I say hiccups not to be a detriment to what the Gonzaga lineup has been able to accomplish. It's just that it was totally outside of what we've seen and heard about from Jake Bird this entire season.
Yeah, 27 and 24 pitches in the second and third, respectively.
But to his to a testament to his grit and mental fortitude, he's really come on strong in the latter part of this game.
Truby back up the middle, and that is going to leak past the glove of Strumpf into center field. Hit number 6 for Gonzaga. It's a 2-out base runner in the 8th for the Zags.
A second consecutive hit for Truby. Didn't get all of this, but poked it just past Bird right off the end of the bat. No chance for Strumpf to make the play at second base. And another 2-out hit for the Zags.
Pinarini's been on a couple of times. A walk and a single and a run scored. And John Savage is out of the Bruins dugout. This might be it for Jake Bird, who has pitched valiantly. He's pitched from behind the entire day. But there was a time in the 3rd inning, and we thought he was going to have a short afternoon. Here he is in the 8th inning, still standing. Yep. John Savage just made the call for a left-hander out of the Bruins pen.
Well, this is a smart decision by Coach Savage. Go lefty versus lefty, and Pinarini on deck.
Pitching change here in Minnesota. Back in a moment. Jake Bird is in line for the loss today for UCLA, but the senior starter gutted out a 7-inning and 2/3 of an inning performance. 119 pitches. But he's done here in the 8th inning. And Garrett Barker comes on, a lefty out of the pen to relieve the senior.
Well, Barker's done a nice job in this role. He has been that matchup guy late in games. And early on, we weren't expecting Bird to go thus far, and he really did a nice job bouncing back. As you see the numbers for Barker on the season, ERA 1.23 in 22 innings. Not going to be overpowering, but very effective with his fastball, slider, and a changeup to complement it.
The lefty comes in with Truby at first, and Truby draws the throw right away. Barker has the best ERA on the staff. You saw it at 1.23. Pinarini is 1 for 2 with a walk, a run, and a single.
We mentioned Truby's speed earlier this game, and this may be a situation where he tries to swipe second base. New catcher behind the plate, and I'm sure Barker and the Bruins are thinking the same thing. Replacement at catcher, new pitcher, and you can get a little bit more cushion by getting him in scoring position for a clutch 2-out hit, possibly from Pinarini. I believe that would be the game plan for the Zags.
Check the swing. Did he go? No. On the appeal. Winner of this game will play the winner of our second game coming up here in Minneapolis between Canisius and Minnesota. And the losers will play off tomorrow in It'll be in an elimination game. That's going to scoot away from McInerney, and on to second base is Truby. And Truby represents what would be a huge insurance run for Gonzaga.
It's just an errant pitch by Barker. Looked like the catcher was set up on the inside part of the plate and really no chance to drop and block that. Nice job by Truby reading the ball down onto the turf.
2-0 to Pinarini. Strike in the outside corner from Garrett Barker, on in relief with 2 outs here in the 8th. Barker has allowed only 3 earned runs in 30 appearances this year. Trying to keep it at a 2-run deficit. Gonzaga today 3 for 6 with runners in scoring position. And now Truby will go to third. Second time McInerney's had to chase. Not sure if this is going to be a wild pitch or a pass ball.
Well, not the conventional way you want to drop and block a ball. Now, a fastball can be extremely tough right there, just late off of his feet. Was McInerney looked like he maybe have been rolled back on his heels just a bit as that pitch was delivered.
Second wild pitch of the at-bat for Barker. He had only had 3 wild pitches all season prior to today. The 3-1. Walked him. Runners at the corners, and here comes the big man, Jake Veith.
Well, I mentioned earlier when we saw Daniel Rosica get replaced for a pinch hitter in Cuellar, I mentioned at that point that this could be a factor late in the game defensively because of how good Rosica is behind the plate.
John Savage didn't walk out to the mound. He ran out to the mound, and he's going to make another pitching change. Not exactly what he had hoped for from Garrett Barker. And Savage is going to go back to a right-hander. Kyle Mora will pitch now with 2 on and 2 outs. Well, for more coverage of the Division I baseball tournament, where you can find an interactive bracket, go to NCAA.com. The home for all 90 NCAA national champions. Kyle Mora comes in now, sophomore right-hander, making his 33rd appearance on the season. He has pitched well. Opponent's hitting only 157 against him, but he's in a tough spot here with 2 on. And Jake Veith coming to the plate, trying to protect a 2-run lead.
Well, Mora has been really good this season. Just his sophomore campaign has been effective, and just a guy that knows how to get out. So this is a prime position for him to come in to get this last necessary out in the top of the 8th inning. Not going to be overpowering. 82-85 with his fastball, has a curveball to complement that. But you're right, Clay. I don't think they got out of Barker what they really wanted to. And it wasn't necessarily they were hoping for an out, but they wanted some for him to compete with, and he didn't go out there and compete and didn't get any help behind the plate. So put the Bruins back into a hole here.
Veith hit the ball really hard his last time up. Hit it to the left fielder, Jeremy Idens, and it drove in a run. The 4th run of the game for Gonzaga. And that's where they stand right now, leading 4-2, looking for more in the 8th. Yeah, that was the best swing we've seen from Veith today.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen him get anything elevated like he is known to do.
Well, part of the reason is because they're not pitching to his wheelhouse. His wheelhouse is on the inner half of the plate. And the approach from Bird earlier in this game and throughout this game has been working away from him. He drove a ball out into left field. little soft liner out there, but otherwise staying away from his wheelhouse has been the smartest thing the Bruins have done in this game.
Truby at third, Pinarini at first. Jake Veith and his 10 home runs at the plate. Kyle Moore, the third pitcher of the inning for UCLA, comes home and catches the outside corner. Again, they stay out of that quote-unquote wheelhouse.
Yeah. Good, smart approach against the dangerous batter Veith. And when you watch him in the batter's box, watch how relaxed his hands are. His top hand is just about off the bat completely. And then in his stride, he gets the grip around the bat. But you can see that left hand pretty wide open.
McInerney has to chase after it, and Gonzaga may have missed an opportunity. Pinarini is able to get over to second base, but Truby, I don't realized how far it was away from McInerney until it was too late.
Well, this is going up the first base side, so for Truby, there's a little bit of a blind spot over there where with the left-handed batter, the ball skirting away from McInerney behind the plate, you don't get a good visual as far as how far that has skirted by.
Yeah, he was screened, no doubt about it. Could have been 5-2. Now runners at second and third with 2 out for Veith. Here's the 1-1. Big swing and a miss. 1-2.
Good location again, working away from Veith. If they're going to go on the inside part of the plate, it's going to be down and in with something soft. That fastball, they're on the cautious side of being on the outside part of the plate. And we've seen this zone expand just a bit earlier with home plate umpire. Can't imagine he's going to test the waters on the inside part of the plate here.
The 1-2 outside. McInerney able to scoop it out of the dirt. Jake Veith hitless today. He hasn't been on base yet. He has reached in 16 straight games. Second year at Gonzaga. Started his career at Tacoma Community College. Base hit would be huge for Gonzaga. Mora comes set. The 2-2. Again, McInerney will run after it. The pitch home won't come. And it's 5-2. Truby took off. He was able to see that pass ball. And it's now a 3-run lead for the Zags.
Totally different picture for Truby at third base. This ball skirts away from McInerney down the third base side, so a clear visual, as you see on the secondary at the left side of the screen, and gets a great jump. No chance for a play at home plate, and Pinarini also scampers to third base, so now another potential run 90 feet away for the Zags.
It's actually ruled a wild pitch on Mora. McInerney has to scoop that one as well. And Veith is aboard. Back-to-back walks given up here by UCLA pitchers. And Daniel Fredrickson will come up for the first time. Huge inning here for Gonzaga to get 2 up on the board.
Well, outside of Daniel Bees, you kind of felt over the last couple of innings that the Bruins had some momentum back on their side, and things have just kind of quieted down based on these last 2 batters getting walked. If you're Coach Savage, you want your guys just to go out there and compete. Even on this stage, you want to see them compete and challenge.
Misspoke, I said 2. They've gotten 1 up on the board here in the 8th. It's a big run. Expand the lead to 3 as Fredrickson gets his first hit of the first at bat, I should say, of the national tournament. The transfer from Washington State. Jake Bird started this inning and got 2 ground balls quickly. He got Yake and Schubert. But then Truby came up and had his 4th productive at bat of the day. A single to center, and now 2 straight walks. Truby able to score on a wild pitch, a huge insurance run, making it 5-2 Gonzaga. There you see the numbers on Fredrickson: 201, no homers, 8 runs batted in. He's made 36 starts this year.
Seems like McInerney is having a very, very tough time behind the plate. Either he's getting crossed up.
This could be a tough play for the shortstop, Kendall. He'll make the throw to first in time to get Fredrickson. And Gonzaga will have to settle for 1. But it's a big one. Gonzaga leading 5-2 as Daniel Bees continues to hurl for the Zags. Daniel Bees, 9 strikeouts today. And he has held a very good UCLA offense to 2 runs on 5 hits as he gets ready to work in the 8th. Daniel Bees in line for what would be his 8th win of the year. But he's got to face Michael Tolia to start the 8th inning. It's 4, 5, and 6. Works ahead of Tolia again. Tolia has been a strikeout victim of Bees 1 time here today.
Amazing display by Bees. All of his pitches working extremely well, and location has been impeccable.
He has retired 4 straight Bruins by strikeout.
And you wondered in that last inning, he gave up 2 quick hits. Gave up the 2 runs earlier.
Boy, that just floated in there. Did you see that? 64 miles an hour.
And it's been effective all afternoon. He slows his delivery up just a bit, but has amazing command of all of his pitches.
And you know, when you were playing in the Big Ten, when you faced a pitcher of that kind of stature, and Bees is 6'8".
Yeah.
Is that hard to hit against a guy that's coming down at you, that kind of tilt?
If you talk to a lot of coaches, that's what they rave about, is the taller guys and that downhill plane. But for me personally, I found it easier, maybe because I'm taller. I found it easier to hit the taller guys. The most difficult guys that I faced were the short, hard throwers.
That were coming up at you.
Yeah, they were so compact. They hit the ball well. And if they threw 90 miles an hour, it seemed like the ball was right on top of you immediately. Tall guys, they have such, you know, right there, you can see the ball coming out of Bees' hands a little bit more clean. As Tolia is battling up here, trying to get things going in this bottom half of the inning.
Well, this is the part of the order where UCLA can get something going. Tolia doubling a run scored his last time up. It was this part of the order where the spark came from to get the Bruins on the board. That curveball missed. It's now 3 balls and 2 strikes.
And the Bruins have only had that 1 inning in the 6th inning when they strung together 2 consecutive hits. Actually, I'm sorry, they had it again in the 6th inning on 2 occasions.
Hit hard to the shortstop. Schubert diving to make the play. Boy, Tolia just tattooed that ball, but Schubert on the backhand makes the first out.
A great defensive team, flashing some leather. Nice job by Schubert at shortstop. Gets a great jump on the ball. Nice reaction. Secures that first out. He's not quiet anymore.
The defense for Gonzaga, and Coach Maktoff touched on it during our interview, it has been the cornerstone of Gonzaga's success this year. A .985 fielding percentage. 2nd best in the country, only to Yale.
I'm talking with Coach Maktoff yesterday. I asked him, what's a couple of keys to this game? What will you guys have to do? What will your Zags have to do to be successful in this game? He said they needed a good start by Bees, and they needed to have their offense continuing to trend up. Foul ball. So far in this game, they've accomplished that. It's a great luxury to have solid starting pitching going this deep in the game and then having defensive prowess like you have with your other fielders.
Now, Pinarini threw a ball into center field from behind home plate on a runner attempting to steal. That was ruled an error. I don't know how much it's going to affect the fielding percentage when this is all said and done today, but Gonzaga has a chance to lead the country when the postseason is completed in that category. There's a strike to Prees. Prees batting for the second time. He grounded to short and drove in Tolia. Or drove in Strumpf back in the 6th inning. Look at the pitch count for Bees at 127. Soft fly ball on the infield. Brashears will make the catch. 2 down. So is this the last inning for Bees, no matter what?
I have to believe so. I think you get around to 130, 135 pitches if he can cruise through. I think it's kind of the same mindset of what we've seen with Coach Savage and when he took Jake Bird out. If they got 2 outs, if you can continue to get outs, we'll leave you out there. Once a guy gets on base, then you rethink that philosophy.
Well, the closer, Casey Legamina, is out in the bullpen, and he's been great all year. 13 saves on the season as that one is speared by Amaral. Number 35, Casey Legamina, the sophomore from Chandler, Arizona.
His presence out there seems to be if a batter gets on base. I mean, he's ready to go. Relaxed. You kind of get the thought that Coach Machtolf is going to allow him to get out of this inning if he can get 1, 2, 3 in and go.
Amaral hitless today. 1-2. Amaral drove in a run with a ground out his last time up. Just missed. Breaking pitch down in the zone. 2-2.
That's a good 1-2 pitch right there. Down and away from the right-handed batter. Not many guys you'll see take that pitch. It's a good quality pitch by Bees.
2-2. Got a piece of it. Gonzaga, winners of 12 of their last 15. Came into this national tournament on a tear, and their starting pitcher here in game 1 has really shut down UCLA. Popped up, foul ground, and that's going to get out of play. They've done a lot of work here at Siebert Field. You see the grass berms down either baseline, and they are going to be full here for our second game today between Minnesota and Canisius. They're expecting standing room only here for that Gopher game. Hosting for the first time since 2000.
Well, a great season for the Golden Gophers.
That hit him. Oh, wait, hold on. The home plate umpire, Jeff Head, is going to call Amaral back to the dish, saying he tried to get hit, or at least didn't try to get out of the way.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about this call right here. I think there's only so much you can do as a batter to get out of the way. Pitch up and in. This is a curveball, and
no,
he stuck his wing out there just a little bit.
I think that's the right call.
Right? Yeah, you see that last little movement, raises his elbow up. I stand corrected.
Well, you're a former hitter. You're a former outfielder. You're gonna always side with the hitter over the pitcher. Dana Hughes was a great at Iowa, 2 sports star. Went on to play in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, you knew how to take a hit, that's for sure.
Well, those are the good old days when you used to be able to run over catchers.
Yeah,
that was when I got flashbacks. That was the cool stuff.
3-2. Walked him. Here's a crack in the door, perhaps, for UCLA with 2 outs in the 8th. And we'll see how long Coach Machtolf hangs with Bees.
Definitely decision-making time for Coach Macdoff as they check the bullpen to make sure the next arm is ready to go.
Just the second walk given up by Bees, and that's going to do it for him. Mark Macdoff has made the call to his closer. What a day for Daniel Bees. He maybe made himself some money today with that draft coming up next week. The junior from Woodinville, Washington, getting a round of applause from the Gonzaga fans who are here. He leaves with a 3-run lead in the 8th inning. It was a pleasure to watch Daniel Bees start today. 7 2/3 innings. Gives up a couple of earned runs. Walked 2, struck out 9. It's the 3rd straight start where he has struck out at least 9 batters. And he's got a 3-run lead as he gives way for the closer, Casey Legumina, sophomore right-hander who has 13 saves on the year.
An outstanding year for Legumina. He's done a nice job in this role. Has 8 saves of those 13 in league play. And he will be a guy that they will go 2+ innings if necessary. So he's very durable. He was a starter in the past, but has really settled into this role. And you saw his numbers, 52 strikeouts on the season.
He'll face Garrett Mitchell to start his afternoon, and he blows it by Garrett Mitchell. Didn't you say, I think you did earlier, that Legumina is the best athlete on the team? Because we've certainly heard that from a few people talking to folks here in Minnesota this week.
Very solid athlete. 94 to 96 with his fastball and has a slider to accompany that.
Garrett Mitchell.
Yes, is the best athlete on the team, and a situation for the Bruins where they really believe he has a huge upside. He has a tough task against Legumina here.
This foul back out of play. Mitchell has been on twice with a walk and a single.
You go back to Daniel Bees and you wonder how that last half inning that he sat out and had to wait for his defense, or I should say his offense, to get going. As a long break. You wonder if that factored into him not being as sharp in that 7th inning. But a great day nonetheless.
This will be more than a 1-inning save for Legumina if he can get it. 2-2. Ground ball. Should end the inning. The shortstop, Schubert, gobbles it up and steps on the bag. And UCLA is turned away again in the 8th inning. Daniel Bees will be the first one out to shake Legumina's hand. Here's a look at the Minneapolis Regional. Winner of UCLA and Gonzaga will take on the winner of Minnesota and Canisius in the winners round tomorrow. The losers will play in an elimination game tomorrow afternoon. Of course, this bracket squares up with the Corvallis Regional, where Oregon State is there. Of course, a national seed, a top 8 national seed. LSU's also there.
Yep.
The Tigers are always dangerous this time of the year. Gonzaga leading at 5-2. Alongside Dana Hughes, I'm Clay Matvick. We're at Siebert Field on the campus of the University of Minnesota. The Gophers hosting a regional for the first time since 2000. Jace Vandenbrake is hitting for the first time today. He came in as a defensive replacement a couple of innings ago. Kyle Moore is on the mound for UCLA. Jake Bird started the game, went 7 2/3. Garrett Barker came in and faced one batter, gave up a walk, and now Kyle Moore is on for the start of his first full inning. Daniel Bees, the starter for Gonzaga, is out of the game now, but he goes 7 2/3, and Gonzaga is sitting in a really good spot if they can hold on for this win. If they end up only using Bees and their closer Legumina, that's going to set them in great position for the rest of this regional.
Absolutely, and that's the recipe for success, is to not have to go deep into your bullpen in this type of format. We'll see a team later this evening in the Golden Gophers that do an exceptional job and get a lot out of their starters. As you see Coach Machtolf there, very happy with the performance by his ace in Bees.
Coach Mack has been with the Gonzaga program for many, many years. He took over for Steve Hertz, the winningest coach in Gonzaga history, who Machtolf replaced again. You see the opening round success. He won the first game in the Fullerton Regional and in the Fort Worth Regional a couple of years ago. Vandenbrake goes down swinging to start the 9th. Steve Hertz would have been here today, but at the Mariners game tomorrow, it's Gonzaga Day, and he's going to be throwing out the first pitch. So it's killing him that he's not here for this NCAA tournament game.
It's good to be in high demand. But in talking with Coach Machtolf, that's a great story. I mean, going to Stanford, winning a national title, and then, you know, by happenstance, being Gonzaga is his hometown, coming back during the summers. He's a two-sport athlete. You know I like those guys. And he's an offensive guy, two-sport athlete, so he really is on top of my list.
Yeah, he played football at Stanford. Baseball there as well.
Come home to work out during the summers for football to get ready for the football season, so didn't play much summer baseball, but just kind of latched on to the Gonzaga summer team. He had the best of both worlds and coming home for his breaks, and lo and behold, he stayed attached to this program and has been here pretty much since then.
His alma mater, the #2 national seed this year. He's been able to get the Zags to the national tournament twice in the last 3 years. Carson Brashear is at the plate for the Zags. They would love to get more insurance here late, as they were able to get one big insurance run in the 8th to make it 5-2. Looking ahead to the UCLA 9th, 8, 9, and 1. Kreidler, Cuellar, and Idens are the hitters due up. And it would actually be Kreidler, McInerney, and Idens. So not the most ideal spot in the UCLA order, especially on a day when they've really struggled to get hits.
I think the only concern you have if you're Coach Machtolf and his Zags program is, will the bats wake up for the Bruins? And if they do, how will that show itself? And, you know, if you're the Bruins, you just kind of come to expect. I mean, let's face it, this team has batted .286 on the season. You just wonder when those things will come alive.
3-2. Pulled foul. UCLA won 5 of its first 6 Pac-12 series, including taking 2 of 3 from Stanford in LA. And faded a bit down the stretch. Still finished with an RPI of 26, and they get an at-large spot in the NCAA tournament, trying not to get upset here in the first game of the tournament. 3-2 to Brashears. Brashears, the Gonzaga second baseman, continues to battle.
This has been the mindset for the entire Zags lineup. Not one guy has gotten cheated all afternoon. Very aggressive in the batter's box. Didn't matter what pitcher the Bruins had on the mound.
Again, the 3-2. This one is going to be in play. Popped up short left. That's where Idens has been all day. Makes the catch for the second out. The West Coast Conference has one College World Series title, and that came in 1992. The Pepperdine Waves, under Andy Lopez's direction, won the national championship that year. Mark Wasikowski was the third baseman on that team, and he's now, of course, the head coach at Purdue, having great success, and he got the Boilers into the tournament.
Well, the coach of the year in the Big Ten was John Anderson, and you can't really
argue with that.
Argue with that.
Nope.
But the one argument I will make is maybe it would have been a year to have co-coaches of the year, because Mark Wazakowski did an outstanding job for the Boilermakers.
I could have handled that. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Mora. Last chance for UCLA. Kreidler will lead it off. Can UCLA come back? Welcome back to the NCAA Baseball Regionals, presented by Capital One. Clay Matvick, and former Iowa great and NFL superstar at one time, Danon Hughes. I'm Clay Matvick. It's 5-2 Gonzaga, leading UCLA. Bruins down to their last 3 outs on a day when hits have been hard to come by, and Gonzaga has been really dominant. When leading after 8, they've only had 2 losses. And one of the reasons, in fact, the main reason, is because of the guy on the mound now, Casey Legamina, the lockdown closer for the Zags.
He has been outstanding all throughout this year's campaign, and very strong back end of the bullpen.
Kreidler at the plate, and he's hit by a pitch. That's the second time he's been hit by a pitch. Bees tagged him in the 5th inning, and now he's aboard to lead off the 9th.
Well, just as we give high praise to Legamina, he allows a fastball to get away from him. And not what you want if you're Coach Mack in this 9th inning, trying to keep the bats quiet for the Bruins.
Pinch hitter for UCLA, R.J. Teero, freshman infielder, is going to come up.
A little bit of a revolving door at this 9-hole position all game long. This is started with Rosica at catcher and got a pinch hitter in there earlier. Now throwing in a freshman into the fire on this stage.
Yeah, Cuellar struck out when he came in as a pinch hitter in the 6th. And now Tajero, who's .276 on the year, no homers, 4 runs batted in. Hit off of Veith, and it's going to carry him down the line in foul ground. Kreidler going to 3rd. He'll be held up there. Tajero delivers with a screamer down the line. He's at 2nd base. 2 on, nobody out for UCLA here in the 9th.
A big, big break for the Bruins. Tajero doing a nice job hitting this ball square right down the first base line. Now, Veith is in fair territory. That ball goes right off his glove. Even though it lands in foul territory, the judgment by the first base umpire, and because it hit his glove before the base, in front of the base, that's why that ball stays fair.
Veith usually comes up with everything at first base, and that was a tough play. That was a screamer down the line. Veith doesn't have an error at first all year. And if anybody's going to, if anybody's going to come up with it, it's Veith. But as it happens, 2 on, nobody out for UCLA. Tying run comes up to the plate, and Iden sends it foul.
How about the freshman stepping up in Tajero and probably having the hardest hit ball in this game by the Bruins? A tough situation, a lot of confidence displayed in him, and he comes through with the extra base hit.
Iden's 0 for 4 today. It's a hard ball, scooped up at short by Schubert, and he'll get the out at first. Kreidler is unable to move from 3rd. What a play by Gunnar Schubert, the Gonzaga shortstop, to get it on the short hop.
Well, this defense has been stellar because they're strong up the middle, and Schubert does a nice job. The only play he can make is attacking this ball. Now the runners have to stay at bay because they're not sure whether he's going to catch that ball on the line. No chance for them to advance, really no need for them to advance down 3 runs, but an outstanding play by the shortstop.
And now Kendall up there. He's 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Tough play again for Schubert. Low throw. Veith scoops it out, but the runner is safe, and it's now 5-3 as Kreidler scores. Veith was able to pull it out of the turf, but not in time to get the speedy Kendall.
Well, excellent speed out of the box by Kendall, and a tough play for Schubert here. Right here, his feet get a little bit tangled up.
Oof.
Ooh, that looks like that play is in the air. I think he gets the benefit of the doubt, but because it's a one-hopper there.
Boy.
Oof. It's bang play, and the rule is not the old tie goes to the runner like you played in Sandlot. It's the runner has to beat the ball there.
Chase Strumpf at the plate now for UCLA. In case you're wondering, there is no replay review in the regional rounds. We will have replay review in the super regional rounds, but not here in the regionals. Strumpf on, 2 on, 1 out. 2-run game. Kendall representing the tying run at first base for UCLA.
2 strong pitches from Legumina, working that slider. As you look at Daniel Bees there, a little bit concerned now. He did everything he could do.
Popped up. Infield at double play depth, hoping to end it with a twin killing. Gonzaga has turned 44 on the year.
Kendall at first base does have speed. 12 of 14 in stolen bases. Not sure you'd run him here. Strumpf have the ability, his ability to extra base hits. Could score the speedy shortstop from first base and tie this ball game.
Strumpf, line drive toward the gap in right center. It's in for a hit. Kreidler scores. And it's 5-4.
Excellent at bat by Strumpf. His 3rd hit of the afternoon. And I mentioned it prior to this inning, Clay. You and I were talking. I said, you wonder when the bats would come alive for the Bruins. And I'm sure in Coach Savage's mind, better late than never. They've put some pressure on the Zags here.
2 runs in here in the 9th against the very tough closer, Casey Legumina. And the pitching coach, Brandon Harmon, is out for a chat. Michael Tolia coming up next.
And I'm sorry, excuse me, you're in a situation now with Tolia being a very dangerous batter. I'm sure you're going to intentionally walk him. Don't want to put yourself in a situation where having such a dangerous guy in the batter's box. Well, I should say, wait, we'll see if the runner gets to second base. If the runner gets to second base, you may look to walk Tolia if there's an errant pitch here.
Tolia 1 for 3 today.
The ground ball gets you out of this.
11 homers, 53 runs batted in. He's got a double and a run scored to his credit today.
2 balls hit pretty solidly down the left field line.
Tying run at third, winning run at first base. The 1-0. 2-0. Hit hard down the line. Fair ball. Over the fence for a double. And that's going to hold the runner at third. That's actually a break for Gonzaga. The game is now tied at 5, but if that caroms off the wall, Danon, it might be over.
Well, we've seen 2 balls hit down the right field line, both one hop over the fence, and this works well for the Zags, because if that ball stays in play, the runner scores from first base easily. And how about the big-time first baseman coming through in the clutch, needing an extra base hit? The surface fails him just a bit there as that ball goes out of play. But the Bruins, the life in the bats have come alive.
And now the winning run just 90 feet away.
And this is the situation where you may look to intentionally walk Jake Prees with 1 out. But they're going to opt to pitch to him. Right-hander versus right-hander.
Infield in.
Field in.
Prees at the plate. Amaral on deck for UCLA.
Now, the only reason I would think that they would not opt to intentionally walk Prees here is because of Amaral on deck and his speed. Maybe thinking that they have a tough chance getting a double play. But with first base open.
Hit well. High and deep to left. Caught by Van de Breek. Here comes the winning run. UCLA has done it. They score 4 in the 9th. And the dejection on the Zags' faces as UCLA will move into the winner's bracket for a game tomorrow. The Bruins celebrating here in Minneapolis, and they got to be careful with the celebration not to hurt anybody. It's the first win this year for the Bruins when trailing after 8 innings. They had been 0-16. But they score 4 here in the 9th off of Casey Legamina and win it 6-5.
If you're the Zags, you have nothing to feel bad about besides losing this opening game. You did everything right. Great starting pitching. You leaned on your durable, reliable closer to come in and shut things down. But at some point, you just have to tip your cap to the other team. The Bruins stepped up in a high-pressure situation and got the job done.